Transformation to games as a service is a beast, actually.
This is not the DNA of the Far Cry and Crysis people. We need to go first person.
Other companies at that time had hardware ray tracing supported, but for me it was kind of easier to start with software.
After Crysis 3, we had a period where we explored different areas because we were like in between projects. So the team in Frankfurt was doing the first steps with virtual realities. And while we were doing this, another studio was working on a project called Hunt, Horrors of the Gilded Age, that was done in Austin. And it basically arrived on our desks at one point. So we were tasked to continue the journey. It was designed to be a third-person game, and we tried to kind of create the game in favor of this. But very soon we have realized that this is not the DNA of the team. This is not the DNA of the Far Cry and Crysis people.
We did some playtests before someone made the final call to do a full reboot.
It was a hard decision because it meant a lot of rework, like tools, investment and system building, to turn this into a first-person shooter again. Because that's where we could really shine from our experience level and make that like a really awesome, cool first-person experience.
And also the way how the levels have been created, tile-based, procedural generated system, to something that is way more fitting to our skill set, crafting unique gameplay spaces that have landmarks, to be in charge of, leading and all these aspects rather than generating something.
That was, I think, the pivotal change that kind of set Hunt in motion to become Hunt Showdown, because by going into a first-person mindset, you also have different priorities all of a sudden. And that just influenced like our approach to weapons. Like all of a sudden you see the reloads, and then that was a consequence of saying like, we want more of these clunky weapons because we can really show interesting reload mechanisms.
When you build a new IP, you need to find the fun. You need to understand what the game is. You can't just make more of the same. And with Hunt, we started from scratch. Our game director Magnus had a pretty clear vision of what the game should be like, and we tried to turn it into reality.
So we need to come up with a concept, with a core loop, which is unique. Hunt Showdown is been used a lot as a reference in the extraction shooter category. So everybody's analyzing it. When somebody else make a game in extraction shooter category, they use Hunt Showdown basically as a reference, and which also a good reflection of what the team has achieved.
Hunt did require us to change mindset, because in the way we were developing previously box products, we would have an end goal and maybe a patch after, right? And then we would be done and dusted with the development. With Hunt, the most important thing we kept telling the team is this is not a sprint but a marathon.
Transformation to games as a service is a beast, actually. It sounds really simple. Yeah, it's 5-6 years in, we're still learning.
Many of the designs that we originally had in mind for how the first couple of months after release should go were completely changed based on the reception and what people really like. And it was important through early access to give us this feedback that we could challenge our own vision and adapt it to reality and what the players really wanted.
The good thing is, about that live product, that you can learn from the community, or that you can collect feedback, that you can analyze what was good, what was bad, and not just, from gut feeling, right? You can also base all the decisions on data.
It was cool to make a game together with the community. That was something that was quite rewarding, because you get immediate feedback, and you can put the feedback in fairly soon. You don't have to wait for yet another game to fix the problems that you have created.
I joined when Hunt was released, when we were on live stream at the previous office, and we had this big screen and everybody was counting down for it to start from 10 to 0. That was my first big moment here.
And that continuous loop of feedback, prioritizing and developing and putting out as an update has been the challenge, because we had to think different. It wasn't just our product anymore, it was the community's product alongside.
Since I've been here, I got to appreciate games more in general because you know how much work there is behind it. It's always easy to complain about something that you're missing in the game or that you think could just be implemented like that. It's not the case. But if you're not behind the scenes, you don't even know about this. So it's always nice to see the results of all the hard work that's being done here.
The beauty of it, you can fix problems. But most importantly, to be able to directly interact with the community, to get the feedback firsthand and also take action immediately.
As you actually start to play the game and you have a bit of routine playing the game, and I'm playing Hunt myself, I'm a passionate Hunt player with 2,000 hours in now. And the feedback is what makes the game better in the end. You just have to listen and act. And I think in Hunt we did a pretty good job so far.
Hunt was a bit of a healing project also internally. Like, it allowed us to kind of refocus again as a team, kind of grow together. We had like people from the VR teams, people from Rise, people from Crysis all coming together, forming a new team and rallying behind this project, because we had kind of a bit of a problem as a company in the years before that. So we were kind of consolidating a little bit.
Actually, I was very scared of the project because I've never done anything horror-ish before. But it was good that it was a challenge, and I was scared because I could overcome the anxiety or whatever this was, or the nervosity, and just dive in and try to work it out and make it happen and find something that is cool for the game, cool for me, cool for the studios.
The core of it is exactly what we wanted it. So that means everything we just defined through the core gameplay loop, like how you go into the world, the unknown you have, how you move to the objective, the chance of encountering things on the way you have to keep track of the noise you make, and building this kind of map in your head of what this particular session, like, oh, we heard some shots in the northeast, oh wait, we just triggered some birds, someone might have heard that, maybe we should detour a little bit. Like, these type of considerations, they are very much alive in the current product, and that is exactly what we want to create as an experience. But then again, crafting systems or other ideas like very specialized mechanics, they never made it into the game, but also that is perfectly fine. We don't need them in the game. The game has moved on. The moment you release it, it's no longer your game, right? It's one of those cheesy things to say, but it is true. Like, the moment something is out in the wild and you get players to play it and feedback on what you did, it ultimately changes the course of what it should be.
I'm finding things in my own compounds I haven't even thought of. Like, there is a lot of bits and pieces in a compound that you don't necessarily design. They just are happy accidents. Level design is, to a degree anyway, a bit of, what's the word? Professional guessing. You assume this might work and that might be good for the compound. But Hunt, because it has this 360 nature, you have no idea where players come from. You have no idea where they're gonna engage. There's a higher chance for people being in the boss pit and people being in the site building, and that there's good combat lines with that. For sure, that's what we try to make very well. But there are so many different angles Hunt has. You play a level every time differently.
There was a very strong focus on shapes, on not creating too much visual noise. Also, like, interesting crooked angles, not everything like just straight and rectangular. Maybe a roof is slightly collapsing in the middle and you get this uneven lines that the world is shifting. This kind of things is really important, and the whole place should be like super stingy and smelly, and somewhere where you don't want to be, like a nasty place at the end of the world.
Hunt has a twist, of course. It's a corrupted world. It's not a beautiful paradise as Crysis was, but it is. They still have a lot in common, even though Hunt, of course, is much darker in tone. If you look at the sunset in the bayou, it looks as beautiful as sunset on a tropical island, I would say. If you leave the zombies out, of course.
I mean, we had a very strong and clear direction from the beginning with Hunt about sort of the things we would and wouldn't say, things we'd leave mysterious and maybe explain. And we leaned more towards keeping things mysterious. That's always much, much scarier. Whatever you can imagine is so much scarier than anything you can see.
Hunt Hunt is all about like taking risks, I think, and tension and fear.
You can play the way you want. You can be a rat. You can be like focusing on ambushes. You can even avoid players entirely and just like see if you can scavenge a little bit on the periphery. But ultimately, you can also still play this game very aggressively. It was designed to be that. You blow up a barrel and it projects its sound all across the map. So now everybody might know where you are. You have to fire your weapon. Now everybody might know where you are. So by the amount of noise you make, you risk exposure, and that obviously dictates whether you will find more or less players, or maybe they find you before you find them.
What is really the most remarkable in Hunt is the thrill of survival, right? The PvP moments, when you get into a situation where you feel like, damn, I don't know how to master them, but you master it, right? You feel great. And the surroundings just there, you don't even look at all the trees and all the times of days that game supports in that moment.
I might get this moment where I just drive fire expecting a shot, nothing happens. And now that sets the panic emotion because I need to fix this problem right now. Reload key. And while this is super cumbersome in a regular shooter, we actually celebrated that because we want you to experience that moment of weakness, of feeling fragile, that you have to overcome. The world in which Hunt Showdown is set, you're basically, from a weapon technology, you're 1 foot in the Wild West, and with the other foot you're in the Industrial Age. Being able to manage these weapons, these kind of intentionally kind of clunky weapons of the era, and being efficient in them became one of the corner pieces of Hunt's arsenal and also gunplay design.
I mean, in a multiplayer game like Hunt, a lot of the narrative is coming from the player's experience themselves. But because we want to shape this world and shape the atmosphere and the way people shape their own stories, we tried to put story in wherever we can. And a lot of it is just the world speaking to you. I mean, there's so much story and depth just in the audio design, in the environment, in every prop. There's so much thought that goes into what the backstory of this world is. I really love when fiction can blend that line between what's real and what's made up, where you kind of catch yourself thinking, like, could this have really happened? And we just didn't know about it because they covered it up so well. I love playing around with that, and that was a big focus of the early narrative of Hunt.
We started digging into an older vintage illustration look. And I made a bunch of tarot cards, and then, okay, we not only need tarot cards, we need like definite descriptions of gameplay elements like the traits. And from that point on, I really went down the rabbit hole, and it was so fun because I didn't even know what's inside my mind, what I can pull out and make into a crazy little imagery. And this whole world in my mind even became bigger and more surreal and abstract and twisted.
Our audio director at the time, Flo, had started writing the humming theme that everybody gets stuck in their head all the time now. And Flo came by the narrative department and was like, wouldn't it be funny if this had lyrics? We could just, put them on a piece of paper and leave it somewhere in the world as like an Easter egg. But I heard him say that and was like, oh, and I wrote the melody and the lyrics that would go on that song, like on my bike on the way home from the office that evening. So the next day I brought that back in and was like, I wrote the lyrics, but there's a melody too. How about I sing it for you guys? And so I sang it for Flo and Jonas, and we recorded it, and that is the theme song that everybody knows. For me, also, the music was such a great way to get more Hunt stories out in the world, because the way we did the narrative with the unlock system, it's kind of hidden. You're not necessarily getting it up front in your face. You have to do a lot of work to get to it. But writing these songs and releasing them outside of the game was a way that I could sneak more Hunt stories into the world.
The game is all about the sound and the atmosphere, and having that band to bring alive the lore as well is amazing. And also, it also provides us another way of getting people into the game as well.
It's a unique experience that is reserved for Hunt, because not many other games, especially shooters, I would say, have such a big focus on the musical aspect. because whenever we release a new event or a new update, we do have new soundtracks that really fit into the world and the theme of Hunt Showdown.
It's a very good meta experience within Hunt actually, and I was from the beginning was supportive to it.
And having Port Sulphur Band also be an actual band that performs shows and stuff, I think it's a really great thing for fans to engage with as well.
They have released 3 digital albums, 2 vinyls album, scored 61 and 63 in German album charts. I think 40 tracks we have released and 64 million streams plus all from this. This is massive actually for organic development. I'm very proud of Port Sulphur Band.
We experimented with some different art styles for the Port Sulphur Band album covers, and then when we started connecting songs to the events, we started working very closely together with Ina Kuth, who does all the trait illustrations and other artwork in the game, and we really found the perfect sort of like dark Hunt art style for these covers.
I think they just needed a graphic and I was there and available and I was like, I'm gonna do it because I love the music they do and I love the musicians behind and everything they come up with. That was just a nice match. We inspire each other and that's the most perfect thing you can have in the workplaces.
And then we also have an amazing artist, Dimitro, who turns those covers into motion graphics. And it's just, I mean, it's such an honor to work with all of these people and get to collaborate with them every day. It's incredibly inspiring.
This is very close to what I would make a game if I had full freedom to do it. But just a great thing, I had full freedom to do it. Like the company has empowered our team, like Magnus, Sven, Netto, there's so many more, it's like hundreds of people working on this. And even though it took a bit of time before it could actually settle down and find its place, I think it did so with a very strong impact, and I'm immensely proud and also very grateful of having had the chance to kind of build something that I feel from my heart is like the next thing that the industry wants, and seeing people actually really appreciate it.
There was a big demand from the community to play Crysis again. We were thinking about a continuation of Crysis, maybe in a different way. Before doing this, we said, okay, let's make a remaster to bring back basically Crysis into people's mind and also extend it to another platform like Nintendo Switch. It was our first game on a Nintendo device by that time, as a remaster, and I must say it plays very well. Its performance was good, the experience was good, and the friends from Nintendo, they were also very happy to see this happening on their platform.
So officially I started Crytek when I was 18, so I started in 2007 and I started in the beta phase of Crysis 1 as a QA tester. I know every piece of Crysis, I know every part of every level, every texture I would say. Yeah, so Crysis is still special for me and will be, I think Crysis is just my DNA.
There is something cool about going back to those old games, especially Crysis 1. You know, it was the first game that I worked on here at Crytek. It was like an intense time because I learned so much, and going back to those spaces was quite cool. And getting the chance to improve it was cool too. So working together with other people to kind of figure out how we can elevate the look of the game that is considered to be like a timeless beauty and kind of make it shine even more on current hardware with current technology.
I mean, the visuals are known for Crysis. Of course, we are all aware of the Cannon Run Crysis meme. That was also the reason why we added a new graphic mode for Crysis 1, Cannon Run Crysis. Now also the console players were able to play the game with solid 60 FPS and also with good graphics, and I think that was also very good for them.
In Crytek, we started with ray tracing through software way, basically. Other companies at that time had hardware ray tracing supported, but for me it was kind of easier to start with software. You just write a shader pretty much and that's it. We have ray tracing.
Yeah, so we have owned our new ray tracing technology to bring into Crysis Remastered 1 on the consoles.
Yeah, I think in remasters, let's say not least in Crysis 2 and in some locations of Crysis 3 is pretty good examples of how ray tracing can be used for specular reflections. So for diffuse GI, we still used kind of sloggy classical voxel tracing.
But yes, we were the first one on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One to bring ray tracing.
That was fun. There's the not so much fun part is to open up your old work files, you know. I can't recommend that. You don't want to be confronted with this, but it was a positive experience, of course.
It is a bit more motion sick on a ladder that collapses, but I think it's worth the excitement.
22, 23 has been, and also 24 has been pretty rough for our industry.
Updating foundation on existing house is not easy.